Okay, so you ready to dig into something companies used to think was like a total money pit?
I'm always up for a good money pit, especially when it turns out to be way more interesting than you'd think.
Right. This deep dive is all about maintenance metrics. And honestly, after reading this excerpt from the Maintenance Audits Handbook, I'm kind of hooked.
It's a fascinating read, really changes how you think about keeping things running smoothly. It's not just about duct tape and prayers anymore.
No kidding. Even the way they define maintenance has totally changed. Like, check this out, the British Standards Institute. They're talking about ideal condition, not just patching things up.
It's a whole new ballgame. And get this, the Maintenance Engineering Society of Australia, they're linking maintenance directly to hitting those big business goals.
So it's not just about fixing what's broken. It's about being strategic.
100%. And that's where measuring your maintenance performance comes in. Can't improve what you don't measure, right?
Makes sense. This excerpt really dives into something called Maintenance Performance Measurement, or MPM, kind of like a report card for your how well you keep things running, I guess.
Exactly. But there's a really interesting point they make about data overload.
Okay.
You can totally drown in data if
Mm.
you're not careful, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Numbers everywhere.
Yeah.
So how do you avoid that? What's the key?
The handbook really stresses that it's not just about collecting numbers, it's about finding the information that matters. It's like having a GPS, right? But no clue where you're going.
Totally. What good is all that navigation if you don't have a destination in mind?
Exactly. You need clear objectives before you even start measuring. And it can't just be one person's job either. It takes a whole team effort, you know?
Definitely. So speaking of all this data, this excerpt goes into all sorts of ways to measure maintenance performance. They call them maintenance performance indicators, or MPIs. And honestly, it's like learning a whole new language.
It is a lot to unpack, but once you get the hang of it, it can be incredibly powerful.
Okay, so walk me through it. What are some of these MPIs?
Well, they break them down in a few different ways. You've got leading indicators and lagging indicators.
Okay, so leading versus lagging. Like,
Okay.
what's the difference?
Think of leading indicators like, well, they're like looking into a crystal ball. They give you a glimpse into the future.
Oh, okay. I kind of get it.
Mm.
So give me an example. What would be a leading indicator in the world of maintenance?
Sure. A big one is employee satisfaction. If your maintenance team is happy, if they're engaged, that's a good sign they're on top of things, taking pride in their work.
Which hopefully means fewer things breaking down in the first place.
Right, exactly. They're staying ahead of those problems. Now, on the flip side, you have your lagging indicators.
Okay, so if leading indicators are about looking ahead, then lagging indicators tell you about stuff that's already happened.
Exactly. Like maintenance cost per unit. It tells you how much you spent, but it can't tell you what those costs will look like next quarter.
Got it. So leading indicators are like checking the forecast. Lagging indicators are like looking at your credit card statement after a shopping spree.
That's a great analogy. And then on top of that, you've also got hard indicators and soft indicators.
Okay, so hard indicators.
Yeah,
Those are the more concrete, measurable things, right? Like how much downtime you've had, how many times the machine is broken down, that kind of thing.
exactly. Black and white, easy to quantify. Soft indicators, on the other hand, are a bit trickier.
Trickier in what way?
Well, they're more about those intangible things like how effective your training programs are or, something like team morale. It's not always easy to put a number on those.
Right, those are more qualitative, but still important, though.
Absolutely. You need both types of indicators to get the full picture.
Right.
The hard numbers and the softer, less tangible insights. They both matter.
So let's say you're tracking all these different types of indicators, leading, lagging, hard, soft. How do you make sense of it all? It's a lot to keep track of, that's for sure. So how do you make sense of all these different data points? Like, how do you bring it all together into something useful?
That's where those frameworks come in. Think of them like organizing principles. They help you categorize all those metrics, see how they all fit together.
Okay, so instead of just a jumble of numbers, you've got, what, like a blueprint?
Exactly. The handbook mentions a few different frameworks, but the one that really stood out to me was the Balanced Scorecard. They call it the BSC for short.
A balance scorecard. Is that like a report card for your whole maintenance operation?
You could say that, but instead of just looking at grades, you're looking at KPIs, those key performance indicators we were just talking about, right?
Right, right. And the balance part means it's not just about the financials.
Exactly. You're also factoring in things like how happy your customers are with your maintenance, how efficient your internal processes are, even how well you're developing your employees. It's about seeing the whole picture, not just one piece of it.
I like that. No more tunnel vision. Are there other frameworks out there besides the balanced scorecard? Or is that the main one?
Oh, there are definitely others. One that comes to mind is the maintenance scorecard. It's specifically designed to link those big overarching goals to the actual maintenance work that needs to get done.
Right. It's all about connecting the dots. Okay, so we've got these frameworks to keep us organized. But this handbook also gets into all these different categories of maintenance performance indicators, or MPIs as they call them. What were some of the big ones that jumped out at you?
Well, we have to start with the financial indicators. I mean, that's what everyone wants to talk about, right?
Makes sense,
Yeah.
bottom line and all that.
Exactly. So you've got your ROI, your return on investment. Basically, how much bang are you getting for your buck when it comes to maintenance spending?
You want to make sure those dollars are working as hard as your maintenance team.
100%. But the handbook stresses that it's a mistake to only focus on the financials.
Yeah.
It can be really short-sighted to just focus on cutting costs in the moment.
Right, because sometimes spending a little more upfront can save you a ton of money down the road.
Exactly. Preventative maintenance is a perfect example of that. You got to look at the long game. And speaking of the bigger picture, another really important category is the human resources indicators.
Right, the people side of things.
Exactly. Think about the expertise you've got on your team, their morale, their safety record. All of that plays a huge role in how successful your maintenance program will be.
You could have the most state-of-the-art equipment in the world, but if you don't have a skilled and,
Motivated.
yes, a skilled and motivated team to keep it running, you're dead in the water. Okay, so we've got financials, we've got the people side of things. What else is there?
Well, another big one is your internal process indicators. Basically, how smoothly are things running?
Okay, so how efficient are you?
Exactly. Is your work order system a nightmare to navigate? How's your inventory control? Are people scrambling to find the parts they need? Is information flowing easily between departments? Or is it like pulling teeth to get anything done?
Oh, I can only imagine. That stuff would drive me crazy.
It can really slow you down, that's for sure. And those inefficiencies add up. These are all super important, but I've got one more category for you, and this one I think is absolutely crucial. Your technical indicators.
Okay, technical indicators. Let's talk about those. What makes them so special?
Well, when you really think about it, beyond the financials, even beyond the people who is the core customer of the maintenance function.
I guess it's the equipment itself.
Bingo. And one of the key technical indicators this handbook highlights is what they call functional safety. Basically, is that equipment doing what it's supposed to do when it's supposed to do it, and without any unpleasant surprises.
So it's not just about whether or not a machine is running. It's about how well it's running and how safely. Makes sense. But how do you measure something like that?
$1 million question, right? Well, the handbook talks about something called, let me see if I can get this right, RAMS parameters.
RAMS parameters. Okay, you've totally lost me. What in the world are RAMS parameters?
So RAMS stands for reliability, availability, maintainability, and safety. Think of them like the 4 pillars of equipment effectiveness. You need all of them to be strong.
RAMS parameters, got it. Reliability, availability, maintainability, and safety. It's like the recipe for equipment success. You need all 4 of those ingredients, or else.
Things can go south pretty quickly, but it's amazing how much you can learn from just thinking about maintenance in these terms, even before you start crunching any numbers. It really gets you thinking about the bigger picture.
It does. But speaking of crunching numbers, this handbook doesn't just tell you what to measure, right? It also talks about what to do with all that information.
Absolutely. And that's where maintenance audits come in. It's like taking a step back, looking at your whole maintenance system with fresh eyes.
Okay, so it's like a health check, but for your maintenance operation.
Perfect analogy. And the goal, just like with a checkup, is to catch any potential problems early on. The excerpt talks about 2 main types of audits. You've got your general audits,
Okay.
and then you've got your technology and business-focused audits.
So what's the difference? Like, when would you use one versus the other?
So a general audit, that's like your standard model. It uses this kind of baseline of what a well-run maintenance system should look like.
Okay.
Really useful for benchmarking. Like, how do you stack up against the competition? Are you ahead of the curve or are you falling behind?
Right.
Now, a technology and business-focused audit, that's where things get a little more well-focused. As the name suggests, you're really tailoring the audit to the specific needs, the specific constraints of your organization.
So it's like you can try on the off-the-rack suit, or you can get one custom made.
There you go. That's a great way to put it. And Regardless of which type of audit you choose, the benefits are clear. They help you identify those hidden problems, streamline your processes, and just foster a culture of continuous improvement.
Because there's always room for improvement, right?
Yeah.
This whole conversation has really been eye-opening. I mean, I knew maintenance was important, but I never realized just how much it really impacts, well, everything.
It's the backbone of any successful operation, that's for sure. And I think that's what makes this excerpt so interesting. It's not just about the numbers, it's about understanding the story those numbers are telling. It's a call to action. It's about asking yourself, what are the leading indicators in my world? What data points can give me that crystal ball glimpse into the future?
It's about taking action.
That's-
So, to everyone listening, what are you going to do with this information? What metrics get you fired up? What areas do you think have the biggest potential for improvement? Because what might seem like just routine maintenance is actually full of these hidden opportunities, these insights, just waiting to be discovered.
Well said. Don't be afraid to dig into the data, look for those patterns, and most importantly, ask the right questions. You might be surprised at what you find.
This deep dive has been fantastic. I feel like I've learned so much, and I'm definitely walking away with a whole new appreciation for the power of maintenance.
It's been my pleasure. And remember, knowledge is power, but only if you use it. So take these insights, put them to work, and let us know what you discover.
And who knows? Maybe your discoveries will even lead to more fascinating deep dives in the future. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.